Welcome back, everybody. Still dressed the same day, different so long. I'm filming this all in one day. So, yeah, again, this is a very, very quick. So, today we are going to be working on the exteriors. So, for homework, I'm not going to do the crossbody strap with you. You do the crossbody strap, whatever your preference is. I will be doing mine the two-sided way as per the pattern, but definitely you do you and you do whatever your preference is. So we should have our exteriors, everything edge coated and ready to go. Again, the foam interfacing we have not put on yet. We have only done the interfacing for the lining pieces. We are going to, you'll see, it's just going to make it so incredibly amazing. So again, if you, all that was for homework last week was to do your edge coating and then any of your cotton that you were going to be needing to put a woven interfacing on. Okay, again, put down in the comments that you were here. Let me know if you're making this, if you weren't here last week, and please do go share on the Facebook page. Okay, let's get to getting this exterior done. Okay, so we're gonna work on our lining and our exterior gusset panels now. So first, let's pull out our exterior bottom piece, and we are going to put in the purse feet. So we have given the markings for the purse feet. We also want to find the center of all sides. You see my Decaville Heavy is placed centered on the wrong side. We're going to put this, make sure you have your fold line going towards the center. We're going to mark our purse feet placement. Oopsies. And then we can install those. Is. Sometimes it's hard to see where it is in this glitter vinyl. There it is. Sometimes if you punch through the back where you can see where the slit was, it kind of opens it up on the other side, so it's easy to find. Just like so. Washers. Come on. Sometimes the prongs like to stick together. There we go. Okay, and then I like to put some duct tape on the back side of the prongs for extra security so they won't come out. And also makes it so the prongs don't rub against the lining fabric that will be up against this. All right. Next, what we want to do, and we're going to be doing the exact same thing with our lining pieces, is find at the top and bottom centers of our gusset piece. See, there's no foam attached to this yet. If you are using a fusible interfacing, you would have already had your interfacing fused on, but I am using foam, so okay. So these will go, so the longer sides are against the bottom sides. We're going to put them right sides together, match up that center. Same with the other side. And then we're going to repeat the exact same thing with the lining pieces. Just trim my interfacing up a bit here. Thought I had done it for all the pieces, but obviously I missed these ones. Okay. Oopsies. Okay, find all your centers. Same with the sides, or the top and bottoms of the gusset lining pieces. Guess we could have done all this at cutting. I always forget. I'm just always excited to get the cutting done. Okay, and the exact same thing. Okay, and let me find the page that says what our interfacing is done. So we are on page 7, and you'll see under gusset construction, step 1, our seam allowance. So we're going to do our seam allowance that's stated there for both of these sides, and then we're going to flip these over with the seams going towards the bottom, and then we're going to top stitch those in place with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance for both. So let's head on over to the machine and do that. Oops. And I'm actually going to chain stitch these just to make things a little bit faster. So with the opposite sides. Okay, and then again with our seams pointing towards the bottom, I'm going to top stitch through the bottom with 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so then we can take those and just set them aside for now. And next we want to pull out our 2 main panels. We're going to start with the V-shaped one. So we're going to need our corner appliques. We'll have to figure out which goes with which. Our V and that. Okay. So let's start with our V appliques. We're going to flip this upside down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some double-sided tape. Now, if your machine is sensitive to double-sided tape, make sure you're keeping it 1/8 of an inch away from where we'll be top stitching. I'm just going to put some tape down. And along the bottom. You could use thinner tape too. You don't have to use the 1/2 inch like I'm using. Take all the paper off the tape backing. Okay, so this is wrong side up. We're going to tape our applique also wrong side up, and we are going to just stick it on top. Now, this doesn't have to be super perfect. It's cut bigger. You just want to make sure that there is enough around for catching it in the top stitching. So I can feel that the edge is right along here, right down here, just like that. Then you want to figure out which of these go where. On the edges, they'll only fit one way. So I got it the first try, like so. These ones will be this one. We're just going to put some tape into the center. You will not be sewing through this. It's just to hold it in place until we applique it in place. So just some random pieces of tape. Oh, I forgot. First, we should have found our top and bottom centers. I can kind of see the marks from when we drew it on, so I'll just kind of snip those in place. There's my other one there. I have it marked on the wrong side. Okay. Again, make sure, see if it won't fit quite, well, actually it kind of does. Oh, no, it doesn't. See how it doesn't quite fit this way? So that's how we know it goes this way. It'll follow the curve only in one direction. So make sure you have it correct. Oh, this one goes here. This one goes, no, wrong one. That's why. This one goes here, just like that. Okay, and once you're happy with that, we're going to line it up with that corner, stick it in place. Just like that. Same with the opposite side. Follow the curve. It should be the same shape, just like so. And you can go ahead and you can trim off any excess you have on this side of that overlay. Set this one aside for now. Let's work on our back. Mark your top and bottom centers. Okay, and then we're going to place our zipper overlay. So I need my other tape here. Just like we do for any zipper overlay, I'm going to put some double-sided tape just along the top or along the outer perimeter. Again, make sure you keep it out of where your top stitching will be if your machine is sensitive to double-sided tape. Okay, so you can use the pattern piece for the placement of this, or you can just put it 3 inches down centered. So I have it marked up with my 6 here. I'm going to take the tape off just the top first, line it up. Oopsies, I got some. Okay. Nice and centered. Stick that in place. And go ahead and do the same with the bottom. Just let it kind of fall where it wants to fall, just if you need to, and stick it down. Make sure that's nice and straight. And it is. And then we're going to do our corners just like we did with the front. So figure out where they go, how they fit. I'll go, this one will go here. This one will go here. Yep. And then just like we did with the front one, we're going to stick these in place. Okay, just like that. Now I have to go ahead and grab my foam because we are going to be basting all of the exteriors to foam. Yes, we haven't stitched anything in place. We're just holding in place right now. So I got to go grab that from the other side of the room. I'll be right back. Okay, so grab out your foam. And all we're going to do is take our exterior pieces, not the zipper panel pieces yet. We'll be doing those slightly different. We're going to use our pieces here as our template for cutting this out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to trim this back a little bit to reduce some bulk as well. So I always cut mine just like slightly bigger, and that gives me something to grab onto when I go to trim the foam back as close to the basting as I can. You'll see what I mean here momentarily. Okay, so that's one. We're going to take our main panels. Same thing. Now, the reason we didn't do any of the top stitching yet is once we have the foam attached and then we do the top stitching through the foam, it gives it this quilted, almost pillowy look, which is what we want and which is the magic of using foam for this bag. This looks so nice. I love the gold glitter so much. Other one done. Back panel. Okay. Next, we have our zipper panels. I just got to double check something. Where are we? So that has us finishing up to page 8, sort of. I'm just looking for my zipper panels because we're kind of jumping ahead. Okay, so on our zipper panels along one edge, we want to draw a 1/4 inch line. Put it on this side here straighter. 1/4 inch line. That one and on this one. Okay. And then I'm going to just kind of use this to rough cut, just like we did before, our foam. But we're not going to, we want to make sure one edge is really straight. Okay. Okay, and then what we're going to do is take, I'm going to use some double-sided tape. You don't necessarily need to use, use the double-sided tape. What the heck? Let's clean that up. They're stuck to each other. Underneath that line that we just drew, I'm just going to put some down and away. I'm making sure it's about 1/4 inch away from that line so it doesn't get caught in our top stitching. And then we're going to take our foam and we're going to line it up with that 1/4 inch line like this and stick it down to that tape. And this is just going to remove the bulk of when we put the zipper on, and you can go ahead and trim up the rest of the foam like so. And then we're going to do the same with the opposite side, or the opposite zipper panel. Clips just to hold that foam in place further. Just like that. Do the same with the other one. I'm not taking the paper off the tape just yet for this one because I don't want to stick to the foam just yet. Oh my gosh, put this away. And line that straight edge up again. And then trim it up. So for all of these pieces, we're going to go ahead and we're going to baste around the perimeters with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So of course, for these zipper panels, we only have to go to where the top of the foam is. So baste around the perimeters of all the pieces. And then when we're done that, we're going to stay at the machine and we are going to top stitch 1/8 inch away and do our reverse applique here. And then our applique here on both pieces. And same with doing the outer perimeter of our zipper panel. And then the appliques here. So we're going to do all of that at the machine at the same time. So we'll start with the basting, and then when we get to these pieces, we'll baste, and then we'll do the appliques. Okay. So again, the baste is 1/4 inch. And again, we don't have to do along the top side of the zipper panels because we don't. We'll have the zipper there. the bottom and the gusset done. All right. So do the perimeter first with the baste, the 1/4 of an inch baste. Okay, and then we're going to do our applique work on this one. And it's going to give us that pillowiness. So I'm going to go down the first. You don't have to stitch up this side because that's going to get caught in that seam allowance. We have that 1/2 inch seam allowance, which is the main seam allowance of the bag. So I'm just going to kind of back stitch within the seam allowance here and then do my top stitch along the tops and then do the same along the bottom. 1/8 of an inch away from that opening. So I'm doing it on my black one. You're not going, it's a reverse applique. So we're not going in the cutout, we're along the outer perimeter of the main fabric. Now when you get to your corner, I like to hand crank so I get that perfect V shape. I have a little more control. Needle down and pivot up and then go up the other side. Back stitch. Then we're going to go ahead and go around the other side, the bottom side, same thing. And you can feel that quilted, pillowy, vintage type of look that we're going for this bowler bag. It's so much fun with foam. You won't get that feeling with Deckable Light. Maybe a little bit with fleece. It'll still look good though if that's what you've chosen to use. It's just, there's just that little extra something when you use foam. See what I mean? So that's what it looks like on the back. I'm just going to double check that I still have, yeah, I got enough thread. My bobbin thread. And then we're going to do our regular applique work. So we're going to top stitch it on what I have the gold. So on these corner appliques, we're actually top stitching on the applique, where this one, because it's reverse applique, we top stitched on this material here. So it's a little bit different each way. So I'm just going to start at this at the bottom within the seam allowance, do my back stitch, and then hand crank those curves if you need to, because this is going to be very visible, especially if you're using a contrasting thread like I am, and you want it to look really good. So go slow. Through the deeper curve, I find it easier to hand crank. I have a little more control of my top stitching through that curve. It's a little bit slower, but you want it to look good. Right here, and then you can back stitch within the seam allowance of where we had basted. Oops. So it looks like that. I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. Okay, so that is the front panel done. And that's what it looks like on the back. I'm going to do the same with our back panel. Now, I'm going to first baste it all the way around. I'm just going to check my bobbin again because it's starting to sound like it's almost empty. Look at that. Woohoo! I won the bobbin chicken. Okay, so I'm going to do my corner appliques first, and then I'm going to come back to do my zipper overlay. So exactly like we did on the front panel. And the other one. Okay, so that is those appliques done. Now we just have our zipper overlay. So for my zipper overlay, we're just doing the perimeter of it. Pull your threads long. You can backstitch if you prefer. I'm going to tie mine off in the back for a nice flowing seamless top stitch. So top stitch all along the top. I'm just going to pull my bobbin thread, pull my top thread through my starting stitches. And I'm going to make sure my needle goes down in my starting stitch hole. Hand cranking helps you get that nice and accurate. Hold on to both threads so you know which one you're going to be pulling back. Flip it over, tug on your bobbin thread to form that loop and pull your top thread through. Gives a nice seamless line, and tie those off in 3 or 4 knots. Melt those. There we go. All right. Okay, so that's that all done. So now what we want to do is we want to trim this foam back. So because we basted with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and this is one of the reasons why we have a 1/2 inch seam allowance for this construction of this bag, is to just try to get as much of the foam out of that 1/2 inch seam allowance that we can. So when you leave this a little bit big and you do the larger base, you can see how you can pull the foam away and it leaves a lot of the vinyl exposed without foam, which is what we want. So you're going to kind of pull it away, take your scissors like so, and trim all the way around without cutting the vinyl. And you can see how much thinner that is compared to that. So we want to do that all the way around. I mean, a 1/4 inch of this is still going to be within that seam allowance, but this just takes away some of, at least half of the bulk that would be in there if you didn't do it. Again, make sure you're not cutting your vinyl, you're just cutting the foam, running kind of right along those stitches, like so. See? Ooh, I had a little bit of a nesting problem there. Holy moly. It's okay. I must not have held my threads. That's what happens. I'm just lucky it didn't get into the machine and lock it up. Okay, so that's the bottom piece. I'm going to concentrate on these because we are going to work on our gusset panel here momentarily. So it's the same for these. Fold that foam back. See, that's pretty good. Okay, set these 3 aside for now because we're going to work with those momentarily. For homework, you'll do the same thing with the perimeter of these. Trim that foam back. I'm not going to do that right now with you, so you can do that for homework. Also for homework, go ahead and put your nameplate wherever you want to put it. I think I put mine up about, again, remembering it's about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Where's my little ruler? I'm going to say I do mine about 2 inches up from the center for mine. So you can see if I fold that back, that would be about the perfect placement, but that changes depending on you and your how big your tag is. So yeah, find it nice and centered place, taking into account that 1/2 inch seam allowance so it's not too low, and install that and trim the foam. For the back panel, you'll also trim the foam. I'm going to do this cutout with you right now. So we want to prepare this for our zipper panel. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter and just in the middle, do a slit all the way through all the layers. Take your scissors and go under your overlay, just like we do for an overlay zipper installation, because that's exactly what this is. I'm just showing you how to cut away the foam so it's out of the way. And then go ahead. I like to cut the foam away first. And I try to go as close as I can to the stitching again without cutting the stitching. Cut out all that excess. Okay, once you have that foam out of the way, go ahead and lift up just the glitter vinyl. So you can see the appliques right there. It's just the main vinyl you're cutting away as close as you can to the stitching as well. But don't cut the applique, don't cut past the stitches. You're just cutting away the excess like so. All right, so that is all ready for the zipper pocket. So this zipper pocket is also going to be homework to go and finish that pocket up. And you can close the bottom up because we're not turning this. This is a birth bag. So for these pieces, trim the exterior foam, put on your nameplate, install the zipper for this one. If you don't know how to do a zipper overlay, I'm pretty sure everybody that's in the class watching this now does know how, but if you don't, I do have a playlist in the Bag Makers Basics playlist on my channel that shows how to zipper pocket with overlay. So we'll put those aside for now. And I'm going to go and grab my zipper and put on my zipper pulls so we can do the outer gusset. Okay, so I've got my 2 pulls on to my zipper already. I like to cut my zipper longer than my zipper panel for the reason that if I put a clip onto the end, I can go ahead and I can pull my zipper pulls out of the way to make sewing everything easier without those being kind of everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to take one of my lining zipper panels. I'm going to take my, where is it? Tape. What did I do with my tape? There it is. Again, you don't have to use tape. If your machine is sensitive, you can definitely go ahead and use clips. The tape does help get a nice straight zipper though, because it holds it in place really nice and tight. So just along the tops, one long top side, or one long side, put some double-sided tape. Along the side that has no foam in it, so the part that has no top stitching of our exterior, put some tape along there. Let me find what page we're at. I know I'm just kind of going with the pattern because I know it so well. So we are looking at page 13. So we've already done the foam basting. And we are doing, oh, we've got somebody at
the front door.
Okay, please hold. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so I said we're on page 13, step, let me see, steps 5 and 6. Okay, so take note of the seam allowance we will be doing in step 7 on page 13. It's different than our main seam allowance. So our lining, we're going to take the tape off. and we are going to put the raw edge all along the top. Again, my zipper tape is longer. I keep it longer on both sides. We'll trim that up momentarily. Stick it down so the zipper is right side up and the lining piece is right side up. And see how my things stay out of the way nicely. Take your exterior piece, put it right sides together, making sure it lines up with the lining piece. And stick it down all the way across. So this is right sides together with that lining and the zipper tape, and we are sandwiching that zipper tape. Again, make sure that they are lining up, which mine pretty much are. Oops, I'm a little bit off. Am I a little bit off? I'm a little bit off. You want them to match. There we go. That's better. Okay, so that seam allowance in step 7, we're going to sew across there. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing right off is I'm going to change into my zipper foot. This will help me get a nice and straight zipper, which we definitely want, as the zipper is a very, very, very visible on a bowler bag. Not that one. Nope. This one here. So switch into your right zipper foot. And then we are going to stitch across that with the seam allowance in the pattern. Your foot should be going almost right up against that foam that we had cut away. It helps kind of guide you that nice straight line. Back stitch at start and stop. Okay. Okay, so this is what that looks like. Now what we want to do is we want to push these panels wrong sides together, nice and tight away from the zipper. I like to use double-sided tape to do this, but again, you will be top stitching through it if you do. But I just find it works really good as a basting agent, especially when you're using super thick vinyls like I'm using, and they don't necessarily always want to finger press in place. So I've just put a little bit of double-sided tape along that seam that we had just sewn. And then I press this nice and tight away from the zipper teeth. I'm going to do the same with the lining side. But you can just finger press, and then we're also going to go ahead and put clips around the raw edges to hold them together. Nice and tight away from those zipper teeth. Like so. And then to just help secure those in place even more, I'm going to put clips along the raw edges. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to start along the middle of the bottom raw edge. And I'm going to start my baste right here, baste up this side, top stitch across the zipper, and finish the baste all the way around. Again, making sure everything is pushed exactly where we want it to go. Okay, let's go do that. Change into your top stitch length. Top stitch along the zipper. And then finish your base down the raw edge sides. All right. Okay, so that is what that looks like. Now we want to do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the zipper. Same process. Rinse and repeat. The only thing we really want to make sure is that it lines up still on the sides. We need them to be nice and even. So I like to flip it wrong side up and then take my lining pieces and put them right sides together. And then I can just kind of line up where they're going to go. Then I know for sure that they are all matched up. Looks pretty even. Flip it over and do the same with the exterior. Make sure it's nice and even. Let it go. And then we're going to stitch it and then top stitch. And I'm going to do it all at the machine. I'm not going to come back to the table. I'll do it all over there. Okay. Okay, and then we wanted to prepare it for top stitch again. I like to use the tape, as I said before. I had just enough tape to do this. I just ran out of this roll. Exactly this amount I needed. Definitely got to make sure that the lining is away from the zipper teeth, because you'd hate it if it ended up poking up and then you couldn't open and close your zipper because it would block it. Oops, I forgot to change it to my top stitch length. Whew, good thing I caught it before I started my top stitching. All right, zipper panel done. All right, so this is what we got here. Now what we want to do is pull our zipper pulls into the center of the zipper panel, like so, and you can trim up any excess zipper tape you may have. Make sure these are nice and even, which they are. Now you can see here, see how they're not exactly matched 100% perfect. That's okay, because it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance and all that is going to get caught in that seam allowance. Okay, so now we're going to take our crossbody connectors. We already have that center line drawn and down the middle of them. We're going to take some double-sided tape. You definitely want to use double-sided tape here because we are not going to be top stitching this in place. If you don't want to use double-sided tape, you can definitely do the top stitch, but I want to have a nice clean line on these so there is no top stitching on my connectors, but you're more than welcome to top stitch. I'll show you where to do that. So we're going to fold the long edges into that center line, but you definitely need to have double-sided tape for this. If you're not going to do the top stitching, if you don't want to use double-sided tape, just go ahead and top stitch with 1/8 of an inch down each of the sides to hold it in place. I'm not doing that. So same with the other one. On the wrong side of one short end, we're going to just put little pieces of double-sided tape. Like so. Take your D-ring and fold it wrong sides together around the D-ring, matching up the short ends, sticking them together with the tape. Now remember, I cut mine a little bit bigger just because I wanted to, than the pattern says, because I wanted to add in a few more rivets. I like the way it looks. And just because this is the main vehicle that this will be held with, because we're not doing the handles, we want to make sure that is not going to give away at all. So, okay. So now what we want to do is on these, I have to remember. So if you followed the pattern, you would be making a line 1/2 inch up from the bottom short end. I made mine bigger, so I am going to be doing my line 1 inch up from the raw edge here. So if you did them the same as the pattern, it's a 1/2 inch, I believe. Double check the pattern measurements to make sure. My pen not working. Of course not. I'll use chalk. 1 inch and 1 inch. Okay. Then what we want to do is we want to line that line up with the raw edge of the side here, nice and centered with that zipper tape. Clip it in place. Now this is the one area that gets really, really thick. Depending on the materials you use. Of course, it's very thick for me, so I'm probably going to need a hump jumper. Sure, it's nice and centered. Same with the opposite side, so the D-ring is going in. So just be very aware of what you're using for fabrics and what the capabilities of your machine are when choosing them. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to baste those in place with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure that doesn't move too much. Make sure it doesn't move. All right. So this is what that looks like. Now let's finish up our gusset. We want to take these lovely things. We want to find the center of our zipper panel. You're going to do that by folding it in half, putting a little snip in where that center is. Same with the opposite side. Okay. So now this is where we get to find out if we had an accurate seam allowance for our zipper panel, because when we put these together, they should be, oh, look at, I'm perfect, the same size. Now, if mine are exactly the right size. Now, if it's a little bit bigger, you can always just do a little bit trim, and that's okay. It just means your zipper seam allowance was slightly off. But we're going to put our exteriors right sides together on one side, put in some clips. Flip it over so the lining side is facing up, and put the linings right sides together and add it into the clips. Okay, now this one we are going to sew with a different seam allowance than our regular one. And that seam allowance is stated on page 14 under the attaching gusset to zipper panel, step number 3. So it is a slightly smaller seam allowance than what we have been working with. Very important that you do this. Otherwise, if you use that larger seam allowance, it is not going to fit around our panel. So make sure you're using that smaller seam allowance stated in that step. So we're going to go ahead, sew across there, and then we're going to bring these wrong sides together, top stitch through this, and at the machine we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the same with the opposite side. Okay, so this is where if you have used a thicker vinyl, it is going to get thick going over that connector. So I do have my hump jumper here in case I need it. I'm going to remember to do that smaller seam allowance. I can actually switch into my other foot, which I'm going to do, my standard foot. I no longer need my zipper foot. all the way across. I can't use that because my thing will be in the way. All right. So the connector, this is where things get different between the burst and the bound pattern. So if you're doing the burst one, you're going to have to look at the pattern because from here on out, this is going to be completely different, okay? Make sure your D-ring is out of the way. I'm going to need my hump jumper. Oh, I got over it. That's okay. Might need it to get down this other side though. We'll see. No, I'm okay. So that is one place where you may need a hump jumper to get over that connector, depending on the thicknesses of your materials or what your machine can handle for thickness. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull these wrong sides together like so, pulling that lining nice and tight. And then we're going to top stitch through that top gusset. Again, you may need a hump jumper to get over the connector here. I'm okay though. All the way across. Okay, one side done. So now the opposite side is just a little bit trickier. You'll want to undo your zipper, just to make it a little bit more flexible. You're going to bring your exterior side, right sides together with your exterior. So I got my lining hanging down here. But bring it together just like we did with that opposite side. Bringing the lining side up and add it into the clips. So we kind of got like this loop-de-loop figure 8 type thing happening. Okay, I'm going to sew across there with that smaller seam allowance. Sure your D-ring is out of the way because you would hate to sew through that. Break a needle. Oh, I almost needed a hump jumper there. Okay. Okay, so now this top stitch is a little bit tricky, but not hard. It just feels awkward. So you're going to kind of flip these wrong sides together. All of our panels. Okay. And you're going to pull this nice and tight, the lining and the exterior. And we are going to top stitch through the loop here. All right. Okay, we're almost done, I promise you. Okay, so we don't have this basted yet because what we want to do now is we want to kind of work in between the layers to put in our rivets. So I'm going to put my rivet. So I got the lining out of the way. I'm only working with the exterior and this connector. I'm just going to measure whereabouts I want to put that rivet. Right about there looks good to me. Same with the other side. Hold that lining out of the way. Mark eyeball where you want to put that rivet. You can put one rivet, you can put 2 rivets, whatever you want. Just make sure they're uniform. That's not quite centered. Right there. Okay. punch out those rivet holes. Again, just through, not through the lining, just through the exterior, like so. That's one hole. Same with the opposite side. Again, not through the lining, just through the exterior layers. Got that in a good place. Whoop. All right. And I have to go find my rivets. I'll be right back. All right, helps to have rivets. So I've got my scraps of Decaville Heavy. Punch my holes into them. I think I'm going to have to use my large rivets because my vinyl is so thick. We will see. All right. Okay, again, keeping the lining out of the way. Rivet through all of those layers. Okay, I definitely need the large. And then I'm also going to put on my post a scrap of Decaville Heavy and my cap. Rivet that in place. Rivets in, nice and tight. Opposite side. Come on, get through all the layers. There it is. This one, my rivet hole was a little bit crooked. Let me fix that. That's better. Decaville Heavy scrap. Sure it goes down nice and straight. Set it straight. Yep, we're good. That one ended up being slightly off center, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm just going to double check that it's set really good. Okay. Now what we can do is bring these wrong sides together again. And if we did everything right, these should fit together perfectly. Check how my rivets look. They look good. Can you even tell one's a little bit off center? This one here is, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so match up the bottom centers. So they're wrong sides together. And we're going to clip these raw edges all the way around. Bring these seams together. Helps to bring all the sections together, and then you can evenly distribute that fabric around. This one, the two gusset seams together on this side. Then when you stretch it out, it should all fit pretty perfect. tight so it fits good. We want to do the same with the opposite side. Clip it all in place, match up that center. Gusset seams. Gusset seam. And then clip. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to baste where we have clipped with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you're just kind of doing it in a circle. That's one side. Or do the other side. And that is our gusset completely done. All right, day 2 is done. So for homework, what I'm going to get you to do is finish up that back panel with sewing everything on. If you haven't done that already, put in the back exterior zipper pocket. So again, if you have any questions about that, I am available to you throughout the month of December, of course. So just shoot me a message and I can walk you through it. We don't typically do the zipper overlay pockets like putting the lining in, just because we do it every single sew along and we have such a long-term crowd here that we all know how to do that already. So, but if you do need help with that, message me. We will Zoom and I will walk you through all of that. So that back pocket, finish that up. Finish up the front and exterior panels if you weren't going along with me, if you weren't sewing along with me today and connecting that foam on. If you were following along with me, you already have it done. And then of course, do your lining pockets the way you like them. So with your zipper pocket, with the overlay, as well as your slip pocket. Do your lining panels to your preference. Again, you do not need to leave the bottom of the zipper pocket open because this is a bound bag and we will not be birthing it. And that is it for day 2. I'll see you guys next week for day 3.